Office of Technology Solutions. Welcome to the CBOR General Ledger Universe training. There are a couple of, I have assistants today. Several of the folks from OTS from the reporting team are on the line, and you'll see a chat box. When you type in the chat box, if you have a question, they will respond in line in the chat box and answer your questions, because I believe everyone is on mute, so you can hear me, but I won't be able to hear you. And also in the upper right-hand corner of the Adobe Connect session are the materials for today's session. You will see the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to go through, and then also there are training exercises that once this session has concluded, you can do the training exercises at your leisure. Let me go ahead and put this in present mode. I'm sharing my desktop, so I hope everybody can see my desktop. Let me just, real quick. I hope y'all can see my desktop. Someone tell me yes, you can see my desktop. Multiple attendees are typing. Yes, thank you. Okay, all right, let me go ahead. I have a team of folks on the, like I said, on the chat. We have Chi Vong, Chris Tilley, Tim Doss, and then we have two developers from Blue Canopy. We have Panitha Cannon and Vindia Komanini on the line, and all of the folks that I just mentioned are going to be assisting to answer your questions. And for those, my presenters, if you're not muted, could you mute your lines, because I hear some paper shuffling. Make sure your lines are muted. All right. In this session today, hopefully the objective of this class is that everyone become familiar with CBOR. We've had an introduction to CBOR, and we've also had an introduction to ad hoc reporting, and this course builds onto that, but just explains and familiarizes you with the general ledger universe, and you'll see how Compass data that goes, or excuse me, how data you input into Compass comes out into the general ledger when you run your ad hoc exercises. So hopefully you'll gain a lot of familiarity and be able to and feel more comfortable using the general ledger universe. This screen is just an overview of what CBOR is about. You'll find when you log into CBOR Business Objects that you have a bunch of financial data at your fingertips. We like to call it a one-stop shop. You have over 100 standard reports in CBOR that we have that we prepared and posted there. And how we get these standard reports are some of the users will say, hey, I would like to have a standard report, and they'll provide us with requirements, and we'll work with them to make sure that we understand the requirements, and then build the standard report and hang it in the Compass folder. And in that Compass folder, under one of those functional areas, like if this were General Ledger, you'd see a new General Ledger standard report based upon the requirements that we got from users. Users get to test those reports to make sure that the reports work as intended before we first publish it. You know, as we go along, sometimes things change and we have to modify the report. So you'll see sometimes that we'll put out notices saying, hey, we've modified such and such standard report to contain whatever information. And then also for the more advanced users of CBOR, there are ad hoc querying capabilities. Business Objects is a very powerful tool, and you can use it to create your own personalized queries if you find maybe you want to tweak one of the ones we have or you want to create your own. The next two slides are just basically a list of the 18 universes that we have within CBOR. And I'm going over this quickly because everybody has the slides and you can read them at your own leisure. And this particular slide is a representation of, when you see the little orange tables or little squares, orange squares and the blue squares, this is representing our database tables. And then down below, you're seeing how the orange tables are representing the client data, and the blue tables are representing cars. Within CBOR, we have those tables stored as universes so that you don't have to know the names of the tables, the names of the individual data elements. You just have to go into CBOR and know the names of, like, where the little folders where it says client and car. We took all of the hard work out of that data for you and made it easy. So the tables up top kind of represent Compass data, and below that represents the CBOR structure. Okay, within the universe structure in CBOR, this is actually the budget execution.unx, a screenshot of that. I keep looking at this little chat box. I need to block that out. Budget execution.unx universe, and within that you'll see the classes. We have each one of these little folders is called a class, and we have like things grouped by logically grouped, like organization. You'll see like RPIO and IPIO names, stuff like that. And then your division, I don't know what else is in organization. And then program information, you see that at MPM and program related stuff. And we call those blue thingies the objects. And then you have the yellow filter are our predefined query filters, whereas for like NPM, if you don't, you can filter on, let's just say one NPM like 17 for OCFO or whatever. So those are the basic functional things that you will see when you open up one of the CBOR universes. When you get a little further in the universe, we have what we call objects, and we have three different kinds of objects. You'll have the dimensions, which you see are the blue ones, and then we have the detail stuff, and then we have measures. For our measures, the orange ones, they're usually like amounts, or they could also be counts of things. So you'll see that when you're in CBOR. You'll see the details, the dimensions, and the measures. This is another screenshot of the general ledger universe with the majority of the classes showing. And the main thing to note about this, and we'll get into on the next slides, are the general ledger. Basically, you know, it has the financial posting data, and there are 3 journals associated with the general ledger available in CBOR. You have the accounting journal, general journal, transaction journal, and we'll go through that a little bit later. And then in one of your exercise, and in both of your exercises, the first exercise you get practice working with those 3 journals, and then the second exercise you'll get practice working with the standard vouchers. So when you go through those exercises, you can see how, you know, to move objects from each of the different classes to create a query to get you to show some data from Compass. And this, excuse me, this particular slide is representing how General Ledger Universe is structured. And you'll see that we have the first one of the journals that I just talked about, those 3 journals, AJ, TJ, and GJ. And then you have the General Ledger Account Information class. And then within CBOR, we have a lot of reference tables. And these are some of the reference tables that you will see in the majority of our CBOR universes. You will see, like if you use budget execution, accounts receivable, you will see these 6 classes, because they're pretty constant. You need them when you're querying within CBOR. And then we have some additional tables that are specific to general ledger, like accounting, periodic balances, and standard vouchers, and the general voucher classes. And this slide gives you additional information, explains a little bit more what the transaction accounting and the general journals are for. And I just want to make a note to say that the general journal is humongous. And when you query on the general journal, make sure that you use filters or else your report probably will not run. You'll have to schedule it if it's a really large report or because it could time out. So please make sure you use filters pretty much really when you're using all of these journals, but specifically when you're using general journal as it is the largest of the 3 journals. And you'll see in the exercise, we have a little note down at the bottom to let you know that you can combine queries. When you use your queries, you can combine all of these classes. And exercise number 1 does do that. You get to pull objects out from each of the classes for these different journals. And this is additional information explaining some of the categories and the classes, how the roll-up information, like for the general, I think this one is for the class, you'll see that there's a category, and under that, if you expand the class, you'll have subclasses that break down into 3-digit, 2-digit, 1-digit, whatever. So I think we have an example of that also in the exercises where you get to use a subclass. And then this next one talks about the accounting dimensions and then some of the reference information that I spoke of. These tables you'll see, like I said, you'll see them in most of our CBOR universes. And then we have vendor information. And this one, I think vendors also in a couple other universes, but for general ledger purposes and for purposes of this course, you know, we've highlighted where vendor address code, this is an example of a roll-up. You see all of this additional information in here. If you want to just use everything in there, you would drag in or double click on that vendor address code, or if you only, let's just say, wanted the city and the state, then you could actually just click those 2 objects into your report query if you only wanted those. You didn't necessarily have to have that. But the point is that there's a lot of information here for you to be able to use in your queries when you're building your ad hoc reports. And I use those 2 words interchangeably, queries and ad hoc reports. And sometimes I'll say your custom reports. This one is periodic balances. Tells you a little bit about how this information is used, and then also, you know, make sure you pay attention in the notes to find out whether or not you can combine this class with other classes, because there's some that you can't, and I think I'm about to roll up on one. I think following a couple of screens will show where it says, oh, you cannot, this one does say cannot be combined. Excuse me, this is the one where you cannot combine. So you can't combine the annual periodic balance with other subclasses. The query won't work. You'll get an error. This particular slide gives additional information about other subclasses or additional classes in here, and you'll see some of this information like the facts. I think we have a fact standard reports, but this is more objects and classes that are available in the general ledger universe. I'm not going to go over these. I'm not going to read them. You have the slides, and you know, take the time to read them and digest that information at your leisure. And then we have the standard vouchers and the JV vouchers, journal vouchers. And these are, as it says, documents that are processed in Compass for accounting transactions, payroll transactions, monthly accrual balance sheets, and other types of documents. And then the journal vouchers same thing, they're processed in Compass, but they contain different information. And these, as the note says, they can be combined. So you can combine these with all of the other classes within the General Ledger.unix universe. And this is a listing of our standard reports. I'm going to go to the next page, and you can see how we have them grouped by functional area, like accounts receivable. Those are specific to them. Budget execution has quite a bit, but the obligated funds, we list that. And then fixed assets reports, we have quite a few of those. And next slide, general ledger. And these are our general ledger standard reports. And as I said, these were custom built based upon user requirements. And additionally, you know, from time to time, we will get new reports, and we do make changes to some of the existing reports based upon customers' requirements. But we do have a lot that have been vetted by us and have been tested by the users and posted and hung out on CBOR. Okay, and these are some more standard reports. Special accounts for folks who use those, and the Superfund community has a couple of reports out there. And then, as I stated, we provided 2 exercises. The first exercise walks you through using the AJ, GJ, and TJ, those 3 journals, and it'll show you some of the information, get you more familiar with using some of the information contained in there, and you get to see the output when you run those reports. And we've also showed you, how to put in the prompts, because as I said, these are very large. The journals are very large, and you want to be able to get data back. So use queries and filters. So we provided a sample where you can query like the fixed asset general ledger account information. And then exercise number 2, which one is this one? Oh, this is a standard voucher exercise. So it'll help you gain familiarity with standard vouchers. And the next slide says questions. I'm not going to do the exercises because my land has been dropping, so you guys can feel free to do those exercises on your own. I don't know if you've been plugging in your chats because I can't see that on my screen, but I hope folks have been answering any questions you may have. So that is all I have. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my phone, and for those of you who are, and shut my session down, but for those of you who are on the chat and you have a question that hasn't been answered, we're going to leave that up for a minute so that the team can continue to answer your questions. Thank you all for joining.
The leader has disconnected. The conference will be terminated in 5 minutes.
Hey, this is here. Thank you, Valerie. I just want to say that I'm going to stop the recording in a minute or so. If you don't have any questions for us, we will close this session in 1 or 2 minutes. But I'm going to stop the recording also. We're going to post the recorded session on the OCFO SharePoint site, the site that where you sign up for the training. If you would like, you can go back and review the training session. And just a reminder, we posted the training material up on the left corner, usually under the files window. You can always download those training materials. And the exercise, you can do the exercise on your own. If you have issue, you can call us, contact us. We will work with you. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll talk to you tomorrow.